Hi, I'm Rajeev and I'm the co-founder of a technology business called Fixflo, and we've been going for about 8 years.
For anybody obviously that doesn't know what that's about, could you just give us a brief rundown as to what fixed flow is?
Yeah, sure. So for people who live in rented properties, for people who manage properties, and for people who go out to fix properties, the whole process is really broken. And our job is to take all the pain out and give everyone a better experience. And we built a tech platform to help people who rent properties get homes fixed more quickly, for contractors and people going out to know what to take, and for people who manage properties to take some of the stress and some of the pain away so they can concentrate on giving a better service. Absolutely not. So when I was at school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. In fact, as I got older, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think even now I'm still finding out what I want to do. And I've had a really simple approach, which is find something you're really interested in and the rest kind of takes care of itself. So find out what you're interested in, work out who you are as a person, work out what you're interested in, and then look for things that do that. So start with what motivates you and makes you happy.
So would you say that obviously you fell into this by accident then, or was there a sort of a plan at some point you decided this is what you wanted to do?
So I started off and I was a lawyer for a bit, and I did that. And what I worked out from that is that I really enjoy dealing with people and helping people. But what I don't like doing is sort of being away from making decisions and just sort of advising people on decisions. So from that, I learned that I wanted to try something by myself and to take a few more risks. And that's kind of the meandering path I took to starting a tech business. I am not a computer programmer. I have no expertise at that at all. But I guess the things that I really like doing are listening to people, trying to understand what their problems are and trying to help them. And running a business, whether it's tech or otherwise, mostly is about helping people. So whether it's helping your customers or helping your team or helping other people, that's really what it's about. And for anybody who's thinking that maybe they want to start a business, I'd always start with what do you find really annoying that you can't do or that you have to do? And then ask other people, do they find it annoying too? And then see if there's a way that you can solve that problem. So find a problem and then try and fix it. So I was working in London. I'm a rugby fan and got tickets to the World Cup in New Zealand back in 2011. I couldn't get enough time off work, so I went and moved to New Zealand and got a job over there. And rented out the place I had in London and was renting in New Zealand. And at the same time that my tenants in London were having all sorts of problems with the property that were all around miscommunication and misunderstanding. We were living in a flat in New Zealand that kept leaking and all our clothes went mouldy. And our landlady in New Zealand, a really nice lady called Sheila, kept paying money to people to fix the roof and they were fixing the wrong thing. It just struck me the whole process was broken. So I had tenants who were upset in England. I was a tenant who was upset in New Zealand. My landlady kept paying money and I was paying money to not fix the problem. And the contractors kept turning up to try and do the right job, but not having the right information to be able to do that. And that's basically where it all came from. It changed over the years. I was um, always had a short attention span, which is, I think, in part why running a business is good because there are so many things going on. Always cheeky, but I guess my approach, which is definitely not the right approach, was to try and pull it out of the bag at the last minute. So I was the person who left pretty much everything to the last minute, crammed for whatever exams it was at the very last minute, rather than doing what you really ought to do, which is get prepared the whole way through.
And did you do well in your exams?
Yeah, I did. So as well as having a short attention span, I'm lucky that I've got a really good memory. So I managed to get through GCSEs and A levels and went on to do a law degree and then crammed for that as well. So it's definitely not all been a bed of roses. And I think that there's a really interesting cultural thing, which is starting to change, which is I think that you learn best by taking risks. If you don't take risks, you don't get the chance to fail. You don't get the chance to learn. So I think if you embrace if you embrace the chance to take risks, you may well fail. And if you use every time that you failed, and I think failure has a sort of really negative connotation, but it's an opportunity to learn. So we make mistakes the whole time. We encourage people to take risks and make mistakes, and then to share what they do. So one of my proudest moments was when someone stood up in a team meeting and said, I did this, I misunderstood whatever it was, and this is what I learned from it. And sharing that experience is really valuable. So I think failure is going from something that should never happen to a learning experience. And that's the sort of societal change that's happening, particularly in Britain. America loves risk taking and failure and people, that sort of stuff. And I think that's coming over.
Self-esteem so much different out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've got sort of a two-pronged question then. One, if a young person's watching this and wants to be you, for example, what guidance could you give them? And then the second part, which is sort of a different sort of question, is if somebody wanted to work for you, for example, what path would you expect them to take to reach your company? What would your expectations be of a potential employee?
Really good question. So if somebody wants to start a business, whether or not it's in tech, I would really strongly suggest they read or listen to a book, because you can get it on audiobook as well, called The Lean Startup, which is LEAN Startup, by a guy called Eric Ries. It's basically a really simple way of working out whether the idea that you have for a business is likely to be successful. And in fact, everyone who joins our company gets a copy of it because it explains how we approach the world. In terms of how we go about recruiting people, so the three most important things to people joining our business are attitude, drive, and coachability. So attitude, are you a positive influence and are you a positive person to have around other people? That's really important. The second is drive. Do you want to be successful and to reach whatever goal you have set for yourself? And coachability is, do you want to learn and to improve? And so they're the three most important things, more than any sort of hard skills.
Brilliant. And sort of on the back of that, I suppose, do you offer, like, for example, apprenticeships or internships, or is it solely you're bringing people from the industry into your environment?
So we take on both full-time and part-time employees, but that's it at the moment. We'd be open to taking on apprenticeships.
Yeah, brilliant. And then the other thing is, if we look at the sort of makeup of your employees, what sort of roles have you got within your company?
So we've got quite a lot of software developers. We've got people who work on products, so trying to understand what customers want. So they'll go out and interview customers and tenants and all sorts of people, trying to work out how we can get better every day. We have customer support and customer success, and they're there to help our customers be successful. We have marketing and sales, legal, finance, operations. So lots of different roles, some of which require sort of technical skills. So whether it's computer programming or being a qualified lawyer or being an accountant, and but most of the roles we have do not require a specific profession. It's much more about, do you want to sell or help people or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from a challenge. So if something looks hard, don't always take an easy path. Hard things are often more rewarding and you learn more from doing them. And if it's hard by itself, do one of two things or both of them, which are break it down into smaller pieces. So I think the phrase is eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. And the second is, don't be afraid to reach out to other people to ask for help and advice. One of the things I learned in starting a business is that people generally are very happy to help, really giving with their time, and just don't be shy about asking for some help.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today.